One of the questions I hear all the time is, do I really need to niche? Another one is, how much marketing do I actually need to be doing? And then here's the big one. How do I know which tasks are really worth my time when everything feels important? If any of these questions sound familiar, you are going to love today's episode because I will answer them all. This episode is inspired by a Q&A call I did recently for Firework Coaching, which was super, super fun. And the feedback I had was that the value per minute was gold. So really excited to share a little bit of those answers with you today. So question 1, I've served different types of clients successfully. Do I really need to niche? My answer to this one was, it depends on your circumstances. The reason we niche is to increase our lead flow. If you have masses of clients coming your way from lots of different backgrounds and you're not struggling to sell your services for the price that you want, then no, I don't think you do need to niche. If, on the other hand, you don't really have enough clients, you don't really have anyone coming to you, then the reason we niche is to enable people to step forward and inquire about your services. So that is the deciding factor. Have I got enough lead flow? And am I charging the amount I want to charge for my services? Niching will help you to get more clients through the door because people can really see that you help them. So we'll message you to inquire. And also the other reason is because when you can create a package specifically for a certain type of client, then they will pay more money. Thinking back to how we've all been raised generally to see the specialist as the top dog. If you are needing brain surgery, how happy would you be that you have the top specialist in the country serving you? And how much would you pay for their service? If you had a general surgeon who helps people with ear, nose and throat and all sorts of other things, as well as the brain, how much would you pay them, or how confident and happy would you be for them to do your brain surgery? If you are realizing in that moment that you would obviously want the top specialist to do the work, this is how niching gets more people in your door, gets a waiting list built for your service, and helps you charge higher prices. An example, though, I gave on the call, because I know people really struggle with this, is that my coach is an ICF MCC coach. I've been with him for years. He's been coaching for years. And he hasn't really niched. I mean, he kind of says career, but I know he deals with a lot more than that. He also generally sells by the hour, although he does usually do a minimum of 3 sessions and obviously tries to aim for a bit more than that. And that has worked okay for his needs, as in he's been going for a really long time now, probably 15 plus years. So he has referrals in his business. So he doesn't really need to market. I think the problem when you aren't niched is that it's really difficult to market your business. If you've been going for years and you've built that pipeline up already before the market got really busy, then this may not be totally relevant for you. But his prices are incredibly reasonable. I could say low, I will say reasonable. And therefore, for his time, he could be maximizing that more if he were selling a result versus selling a coaching session. But it totally works for him, his stage of life, the hours he wants to work, the money he maybe needs to bring in because his mortgage is paid off, which mine certainly isn't right now. So it all depends on your lead flow and your income requirements. Okay, question 2, how much marketing do I actually need to be doing? The short answer is more than you think and more than generally feels comfortable, especially in the early days. One LinkedIn post a month is not going to help you to market your business. People need to see you repeatedly before they act. New research shows that people generally need to spend around 7 hours with you to feel like they know you enough to work with you. So if we're thinking about social media posts, and given most people's attention span for a single post is zero point 0.5 of a second, maybe 1 second, if all you're doing, for example, is social media, I hope you are now seeing that that's a lot of social media posts needing to be done for people to really start understanding who you are and really feeling that connection, which is why I often talk about shallow marketing, which is social media and things that are just like quick, look at this, advertising maybe, and deep marketing, which is something like this podcast, a webinar, a blog, an email list, some way of people stepping deeper into your world to essentially fast track that 7 hour period. So, for example, nearly all of my clients have listened to my podcast, sometimes over months, sometimes over years, until they really feel like, yes, this is the person who gets where I'm at. This is the person that I want to work with. So when it comes to how much marketing do you actually need to be doing, really think about how are you going to get people to know you well enough to get to that 7 hours quicker with each individual, that is. Each individual spending 7 hours with you. Obviously, some people will buy looking at your first post. Some people will buy 2 years after seeing your first post. But as an average indicator, just so you have a rough idea as to what may be required, and so you don't feel disappointed that it's not working. Because I know lots of my clients feel really despondent when they say, I put out posts about this and I just got zero interest. And I'm like, how many posts did you put out? And often it's one. Sometimes it's I put out 2 or 3. So I hope that is a really good indicator as to what may be required. And the person asking the question used to work in marketing and said, oh, goodness, the reason I left my job is so I could actually just do coaching. And I really do get it. So please don't feel too depressed. I really do get it. And the thing that has really helped me to be able to market my business on a really limited hours a week, because I only work a few hours a day, is really seeing my marketing as part of my business and part of my mission and my service. If you listen to the podcast episode I shared with June Hogan a few weeks ago, you will also notice that she mentioned that I really love serving my community. I hold monthly lunch and learns for HR providers. I create content and I really love supporting people and sharing in this way. So I do think there is a mindset shift when I think about successful people I'm working with that have established businesses already, is that they really don't mind the marketing. They have fallen in love with showing up and serving their ideal client, whether that's currently a paying client or whether that's not currently a paying client. You also eventually start to realize that it's all part of your ecosystem and that it does pay off in the end if you have all of the foundational pieces in place. That is saying that you've got a clear niche, you've got a clear offer, you know the problems you're solving, the results that your coaching delivers. You have a great marketing system built out, and you've put the time in to make it all start working together. I also shared on this question that stop-start is really hard. And I know most people do that. They kind of go hell for leather for months, and then they have a few months off, and then they come back again for another few weeks, and then they have another month off. A bit like my daily yoga practice, which is a habit I established about 7 years ago now. I practice yoga every day. I mean, we're talking, even if that is 2 minutes a day, yes, 2 minutes, I will try and never let 2 days go by without me doing it, because just like building my business, I know that if I miss a day or 2 days, I'm really unlikely to want to start exercising again. It's just really hard from that standing start all of the time to build the momentum that you need. So even if it's a tiny, tiny step forward in your business each day, then I honestly believe that that's so much easier and more effective than going mad for a week and then falling off for another month and then suddenly coming back and then stopping. It doesn't need to be all consuming. It can just be, what's a tiny thing I can do today to build my business? Okay, the final question I will answer today is, how do I know what the high value tasks are when everything feels important? High value tasks are usually the tasks that you don't want to do. So I like to think of them as active interaction with real humans. So, not doing your website, not creating your nurture sequence behind the scenes, but sharing your lead magnet consistently once you have created your nurture sequence and email behind the scenes. Consistently sharing your website once you have built it. So, yes, there is a time where we need to do the build, and lots of my clients are in that place where we're building out all of these things. And therefore, it is really hard at that time because you're learning so much and you're learning all the tech and you're putting it all in place. But the really hard part is actively sharing it consistently. So, I shared a coaching business scorecard on the call. And it was essentially a list of things that you can do in your business to move you forward each day. So that might be connecting with people actively on LinkedIn or however else you build your audience if you're using a different platform. That might be sending a pitch to speak on a podcast. That might be sending a DM to someone or telling your old contacts and work colleagues what you're doing now very, very specifically. So usually they are some tasks associated with rejection, which is why most people don't do them, because none of us like rejection. So if you are thinking that creating a social post is hard, then I would say even harder is sending a message to an actual individual person that perhaps you used to know and saying, who do you know who I could help? So, depending on what you find difficult, create yourself a task list. Create yourself a non negotiable constant marketing protocol. Not a very attractive title, I appreciate, with the word constant and marketing and protocol in one sentence. But honestly, I think your life will be so easy if you get to the place where doing your constant marketing protocol is just like brushing your teeth. It's just something that you do. It's not draining. It doesn't take your energy. If you practice it so much, it will become a habit that is just something that will serve you and serve your business. Just the same as all of our other habits in life, like health, exercise, meditation, all of these things that are so hard and most people really struggle with, and I do too. They are the things that can literally transform your life. These seemingly small actions that most people won't do. And that is the cue here. So if you are thinking about what your high value tasks are, ask yourself, does this task bring me closer to a client conversation? If not, it's probably not top priority. And this is quite tricky because obviously, if you are tweaking a website or tweaking a nurture sequence again, we can still end up answering yes. But how quickly can you do those things? With my clients, for example, I held a decision making workshop last week because what I noticed was Most of the time, it's not really that we don't know what to do. It's just that we really struggle to make a concrete decision as to whether this is the best course of action. And I really do get it, because obviously, with any decision, you could be going down the wrong path. But also, staying in indecision is really hard, and being stagnant is probably harder than taking some effort in one direction. Instead of taking a month to 2 months, or sometimes even more, to make a decision on your niche or your offer or what marketing channel you want to do, how about making a decision for now with the information that you have, and knowing that you can change course at any point? While you have momentum, it's usually easier to keep moving. So I was prompted to give actual specifics here. So I said, spend 60 to 80% of your time on marketing and client generating activities, and generally more like 20 to 40% on your actual delivery. This is always a real shock. If you are already well down the line and you've built up your marketing and you have enough clients, then this will be different for you. But if you are starting out, then generating clients is your absolute priority. So it's actually going to be more like 100% of your time on marketing, visibility, other client generating activities, and even less on delivery. Obviously, the aim is to start spending way more on delivery, but while you build that momentum and build that pipeline, often it's a bit more reasonable to know that more than half of your time is often spent in marketing your business. I know even now, probably 50% plus of my time is spent marketing my business. Obviously, things like this, creating my podcast, social media, emails, all of those things, speaking on workshops, different things that I do. I would definitely say mine is probably 50-50 right now, and maybe even more like 60% marketing and 40% delivery. So a simple way to check in with this at the end of each week to ensure that you are working on high value tasks are, what did I do that created opportunities? I hope it was helpful to listen to some of those top questions that I was asked recently and my view on them. I love hearing from you, so please do drop me a DM on LinkedIn as Joanna Lott, or email at joanna@joannalottcoaching.com. And I would love to hear what you took away from today's episode and what you are going to do differently as a result. I hope today was super helpful. And like I say at the end of every episode, trust yourself, believe in yourself, and be the wise gardener who keeps on watering the seed. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Women in the Coaching Arena. I have a mass of free resources on my website, joannalottcoaching.com. That's Joanna with an A and Lott with 2 T's, joannalottcoaching.com. And I'll also put links in the show notes below. Let me know if you found this episode useful, share it with a friend, and leave me a review, and I will personally thank you for that. Remember to trust yourself, believe in yourself, and be the wise gardener who keeps on watering the seed. Get into the arena, dare greatly, and try.